Hi, I'm Viki, and this is Andrew, and we're your lathe leads for the GRT 2020-21 season. In this installment of the GRT Lathe Training Series, we will be showing you how to drill holes, how to tap, and how to properly clean up after yourself. Let's get into it.
Before we get started though, remember to follow the safety rules of the shop. Wear your safety glasses at all times. Always roll up your sleeves, tie back your hair. Make sure you are wearing pants that cover your knees, wear closed-toe shoes, and check the people around you. Remember, you will have to pass an online safety test before you can get any hands-on training. To drill holes into your part using the lathe, you will need to use a tailsaw. In this section, you'll learn how to move the tailstock along the ways, how to lock the tailstock in place, how to extend and retract the tailstock barrel, how to read the ruler on the barrel, and how to change tailstock tools. Here are some important components of the tailstock: the ways, the barrel ruler, barrel lock, tailstock lock, feed hand wheel. The tailstock can be moved to the right or left along the ways of the lathe. It is held in position by a lock. To lock the tailstock in place, rotate the tailstock lock handle to the left with slight pressure. To unlock it, rotate the lock handle to the right. Here are the steps for safely moving the tailstock. Release the tailstock lock. Retract the lathe carriage so that the tailstock can be moved along the ways without hitting the tool holder. Grasp the tailstock with two hands, one on either side. Push the tailstock towards the chuck or collet. Slowly push the tailstock with your right hand and control the movements with your left. The tailstock is heavy. Keep your left hand ready to stop the tailstock and do not let it bump into the collet or your stock. To push the tailstock away from the chuck or collet, slowly push the tailstock with your left hand and control the movement with your right. Do not push too hard. The tailstock can slide completely off the ways, damaging the tailstock and anything or anyone that it falls on. When the tailstock is in the desired position, set the lock. The barrel of the tailstock can hold a variety of tools, including drill chucks, centers, and large drills. It has a Morse taper to securely hold the tools. A drill chuck inserted into the tailstock can be used to drill holes with a diameter of less than half an inch. Here are the steps for installing a tool into the barrel of the tailstock. Turn the feed hand wheel clockwise to extend the barrel. Position the tool loosely on the Morse taper and then push it in right with some force. Check that it is securely inserted by pulling on it. You should not be able to pull it out. Here are the steps to remove a tool from the barrel of the tailstock. Turn the feed hand wheel counterclockwise to retract the barrel, while holding your left hand out below the tool. When the barrel fully retracts, the tool should pop out and fall into your hand. If necessary, slide the loosened tool off the barrel. Return the tool to its proper location.
Another essential lathe operation is drilling. When you drill a hole using the lathe, unlike the drill press or the power drill, the lathe spins the part while the drill bit is slowly moved into the material to make the hole. You will need to first use a center drill to create a small divot to guide the actual drill bit and prevent it from walking or slipping off axis. Here are the steps for drilling a hole in a part held in the lathe, collet, or chuck. Open the tailstock drill chuck jaws, insert the center drill, and then tighten, making sure all three jaws are in contact with the center drill. There are two different tailstock drill chucks used on the lathe, one with a chuck key to open and close the jaws, and one with a knurled sleeve that rotates clockwise and counterclockwise. Turn on the motor. Move the tailstock to position the tip of the center drill close to the stock face. Set the lock on the tailstock. Turn the tailstock feed hand wheel clockwise to extend the drill chuck forward. This will push the center drill into the part to make a small hole. You should feel a little bit of pressure as you turn the handle. Turn the feed hand wheel counterclockwise to retract the tool. Release the tailstock brake and move the tailstock back to its original position. Turn off the motor. Open the drill chuck jaws and remove the center drill. Insert the drill bit for the specified hole and tighten the bit in the chuck, positioning the flutes as you would when using a bit in the drill press. Slide the tailstock forward so that the tip of the drill bit is close but not touching the part. Set the tailstock lock. Now, you have to calculate how far the drill should cut into the material. On the barrel ruler, read the value where the barrel comes out of the tailstock, and add this measurement to the specified hole depth on the drawing sheet. Then add another 1/4 inch more to account for the conical end of the drill bit. Write the final value on the drawing sheet. Turn the motor on and brush oil onto the face of the stock and the drill bit. Turn the tailstock feed hand wheel clockwise until the bit begins cutting into the part. When you feel some pressure, retract the drill bit by turning the feed hand wheel counterclockwise. Use a brush to remove the chips from the drill flutes. Lubricate the drill bit with oil, and repeat the drilling operation until the barrel ruler indicates the final drill location. This is the same pecking process used when drilling holes on a drill press. When you are done, release the tailstock lock and move the tailstock back to its original position. Remove the drill bit. For the sample part, the drawing sheet specifies a 1032 tapped hole. Looking at the drill bit guide, we see this means we should use a number 21 drill bit. If a specified hole is larger than a 1/4 inch diameter, you will need to drill a 1/4 inch pilot hole and perhaps a second hole between 1/4 inch and the final specified diameter. This will keep the final hole centered and put less pressure on the drill bits. If a specified hole is larger than 1/2 inch diameter, you will need to use a drill with Morse taper. Tapered drills can be found next to the collet lathe. You can tell they are tapered by seeing that their ends are not parallel. To drill large holes, you will need to use multiple drill bits from increasing size as just described, with any holes larger than 1/2 inch diameter using a tapered drill. Insert a tapered drill into the tailstock. To check if large drill bits are securely inserted, wrap a rag around them and lightly tug. Because you are removing a lot of material when you cut a large hole, drill slowly, clear chips frequently, and use plenty of oil.
Tapping is the operation that cuts threads in a hole so that a screw or bolt can be fastened. On the sample part, the drawing sheet specifies a tapped hole that has tapped the entire depth. Here are the steps for tapping a hole using the lathe. Check the drawing sheet, hole note, and tap selection guide to determine the correct drill bit and tap. You will also need a tap guide and a tap handle. Drill the appropriate hole and remove the drill bit from the tailstock chuck. Insert the tap into the tap handle. To do this, loosen the tap handle jaws by turning the tip clockwise. Insert the tap square side in and tighten the tap handle till the V-shaped grooves firmly tighten around the tap. Insert the tap guide into the drill chuck with the small and retractable end facing out. Align the top groove of the tap handle with the tap guide, and then position the tailstock so that the tip of the tap is entering the drilled hole. Set the tailstock lock. Lightly brush oil on the tap. Turn the tailstock feed hand wheel to bring the tap guide to the left and compress the tip into the hole of the tap handle. Continue until you see about 10% of the tap guide tip. Now begin to turn the tap handle. Turn it 1/2 turn into the material, then back off 1/4 of a turn. You should feel a small click as the chip you just cut dislodges from inside of the hole. Repeat this pattern 1/2 turn in and 1/4 turn back. As you tap, keep turning the tailstock feed hand wheel so that the tap guide is always in contact with the tap handle. If the lathe spindle rotates as you turn the tap, set the lathe to a lower speed setting. This increases the resistance. If your hole fills up with chip, carefully back the tap all the way out by turning clockwise and remove chips with a brush. If it takes a lot of force to turn the tap forward, you're most likely at the end of the hole and should stop even if you're not at the specified depth. When you're done tapping, meaning that the tap has cut through or to a specified depth or cannot go any deeper, unlock the tailstock and back it away from the material. Carefully back the tap out of the hole by turning counterclockwise in a continuous rotation. Return all tools to its proper location. If you have not reached the specified thread depth, re-drill the hole to a larger depth and re-tap.
Once you are done using the lathe, always make sure to clean up after yourself. Brush chips off the lathe and into the lathe bed. If the lathe bed is full of chips, open the bed and brush the chips into a bucket. On the collet lathe, open the bed by pulling on the underhang handle. On the chuck lathe, open the bed by grabbing the 2 bars and pulling out. Aluminum should be placed into its designated recycle bin and never mixed with other materials. Steels, plastics, and other materials should be thrown away. The lathe beds do not need to be cleaned out every day, but please do your part if you see that the lathe bed is full. Remember to completely empty the lathe bed whenever you are going to be changing materials. Do not let materials mix in the lathe bed, or they are no longer recyclable and must be put into the trash. Put all the tools you might have used back in their proper location. Organize the table next to the lathe and don't leave things in a messy pile. In general, try to leave the lathe in better condition than when you started to use it. If you don't know where something goes, ask a mentor.
That does it for our 4th installment of the GRT Lathe training video. I hope this video and all other videos help you better understand the operations on the lathe. If you have any questions, please share them out in class so everyone can know the answers. Stay safe everyone, and I hope that we see you back in the shop soon.